Well, the final day of 2023 is here, and that means we have another Arkansas football recruiting report with Otis Kirk. I'm Evan Camico. Otis, big news in recruiting coming up. I know it's the new year, 2024, rolls around another window, January 3rd to 7th. Who's coming to Arkansas to visit?
Well, they're going to have you. I think they're going to sign 6 more kids out of the portal. I really do. Sam said on not national sign, on the early signing day on December the 20th, he said they had 8 scholarships left. Bradley Shaw took one of those. I think they'll probably take another high school kid. That would get them down to 6. You've got a couple of defensive backs from South Alabama will be here. Jaden Boyson, Marquise Robinson, both those kids. One's a corner. Robinson is a corner safety as Boyson. Jordan Anthony is a wide receiver who played for Bobby at Texas A&M last year. Was 4-star in high school. I think he's coming in for a visit. I think they will get him. And then I don't know how you pronounce the kid's name, but Mike Matskakua or something like that. He look, big offensive lineman from Florida. He was at Baylor, played 3 years for Coach Matias at Baylor. And honestly, I have no idea how to pronounce the kid's last name, but he is an interior offensive lineman, and he played at Florida this year. And I think Arkansas is in pretty good shape for him. So there's some kids among the kids that will come in that I think they have a good shot at them. There'll be some others coming in, but I've gone over this list, but I think you'll see an interior offensive lineman there, Evan. I think you'll see they're going to get a running back, but I think it's going to be more. We're going to go into that more in a few minutes on the running back. I don't know I don't think it'll be a portal kid. Could be, and they could end up taking one from the portal, one from the high school. If they do that, they're going to have to let another position go. I know they're looking at another wide receiver, and that might be a position if no one else leaves, with Guyton leaving. Then I don't know that they would have to have another receiver if they could get a stud at another position. On defense, I think they'll take an edge. I think they definitely need an interior one. They didn't sign one. Another linebacker, definitely a need, and then defensive back, maybe the best kid you can get. It might be 2 defensive backs because you've got 2 from the same school coming in for a visit. But anyway, those are some of the ideal of where they'll probably go with those scholarships. But yeah. I do look for 6 more from the portal, and they'll have to figure out the numbers. And it might come down to, do you take a receiver, or if you got a defensive back who wants to come and you feel like he's better than any option that you have at receiver, then I think they might do that too, Evan. That's the thing. I mean, the numbers bounce around, and I know that priority is each position, but I do think they will take an interior offensive lineman. They will take a linebacker, and they'll get a D lineman or 2. Other than that, I think the positions, it may come down, if you can get 2, you get better one than somebody else in another position. You might increase a position by 1 and take away another position, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but I do
absolutely.
think interior offensive line, interior defensive line, edge rusher, and linebacker. Those are 4 that I don't think they're going to take, and they're going to get a running back. They're going to take a running back. So I think there's 5 of your 7 scholarships are taken. Then when you start looking at wide receiver, defensive back, if you can get 2 defensive backs who are better than any receiver you could get, you might take those 2 defensive backs and let the receiver go. That's why that was the example I'm trying to say. It's just sometimes it comes down to getting the best 7 players you can get.
Right, and with only 6 to 7 spots now open because of Shaw, like you mentioned, taking one of those linebacker spots, the Hogs are definitely going to need to be smart about who they choose and not just, quality over quantity. It's something that, Sam's talked about all offseason. But again, Otis, let's talk about the linebackers right now. We'll get to, there's one more official visitor day. That's January 12th. We'll get there in a second. But I want to talk about the linebackers. The Hogs just lost yesterday, Jaheim Thomas to the transfer portal. He has officially entered. And that leaves the Hogs in need of a linebacker and somebody with veteran experience in the SEC, because you do have a lot of freshman linebackers coming in. But again, you want someone with experience. What do you have on Jaheim Thomas leaving Arkansas?
That was one of the strangest things I've seen. And that takes both your starters with he and Pooh Paul going. But something happened. And Evan, I don't know what it was, but he went from being in all of our press conferences, and you were there at a lot of them, I was there at a lot of them, but we kept hearing about the first 8, 7, 8, 9 games, we kept hearing this guy played well, that guy played well, but the guy who's playing the best at that position is Jaheim Thomas. I'm talking about from Sam Pittman. We kept hearing that each week. Then all of a sudden, come the last 2 or 3 games, Jaheim's not starting, and we start hearing Antonio Greer's practicing better than him, and Jaheim was coming off the bench or not even playing at all. He didn't have any stats, I believe, in the Florida International game. It was a strange game. Something happened there. I know people are reporting that they didn't do what they Arkansas didn't do what they promised they do. To a degree that may be true, but they did early on. But something happened there about 3/4 of the way through the season that caused him to get in the doghouse. And I'm not blaming the kid. I'm not blaming the coaches. I don't know what happened, but he went from being the best we have, according to Sam saying he's the best we've got, to playing to not playing or just being a mop-up player. And so it was no surprise he went in the portal. I something happened there. And I know they know over there. And like I said, I'm not pointing fingers at Jaheim. I'm not pointing fingers at the coaching staff. I honestly don't know what happened there, but I don't think it's as simple as saying Arkansas didn't do what they promised they would do. Because he was starting and playing a lot of ball and getting praised each week. They even brought him into the interview room a few times during the season. So, I mean, he was just up there, and then all of a sudden, just bang, it went away. And it wasn't like the kid wasn't producing on the field, Evan. I mean, 90 tackles. Like he and Pupal were their 2 best linebackers, and they're both in portal. So, well, of course, Pupal's at Ole Miss now, or will be.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying, I mean, your 2 starting linebackers went to the portal. But I do think you've lost Manny Powell, you've lost Jordan Crook, and you've lost the 2 we just talked about. But they've signed 4. And that's where Xavier Sorey Jr. comes into play really big, the kid from Georgia.
Mhm.
I think he's going to have to be your rock there. I mean, he's going to have to be your star, your person you can hang your hat on at linebacker. He's going to have to be your Gene Thomas, your Pupal.
Yeah, and I think to your point, he will be. He's somebody who has that SEC experience and played in the SEC championship game against Alabama. Had a really good tackle for a loss on a 4th down as well. So you've seen, the upside of Xavier Sorey, and now you get to see him now with a full opportunity and the ability and the opportunity to lead a defense that is going to be relying on him. Look, you still have questions in the secondary we have had, but your linebackers core for the last couple of years has really been the rock at Arkansas and really allowed them to flourish. And that defensive line is getting rebuilt. Landon Jackson as well as coming back is huge, but we talk about it every week. You rely on those linebackers week in and week out, whether it's Greer or Pooh or, Jaheim Thomas to really be the rock for the defense. And now the questions are going to be all over the defense. Is the defensive line going to be as good? What's the secondary going to look like? And I think it's all going to come down to the play of the linebackers, the guys who are in the huddle making the play calls, even though, I mean, they're signals, and who knows, maybe green dot's coming, but that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, let's kind of wrap up really quickly with at least transfers and guys coming in. January 12th is one more date, and we got a running back coming in as well, I've heard.
Yeah, and we've talked about him on here, but I just wanted to emphasize again that I feel good about Jamarian Burnett. I think, he's coming in he's a 4-star from high school, got 25 offers, visited Missouri, was once committed to Auburn, but I think he's going to visit the 12th through the 14th. He's 6'1" or 6'2", about 225, 230 pounds. He can come in here, and he's built similar to Braylon Russell. And I think Jamarian Burnett's someone that, and I think they'll take him over a portal kid. And at the end of the day, they might take 2. But I do feel good about them getting Burnett. And so you plug him in, and that would and that's why I think if you get Burnett, then that'll get you down to 6 scholarships. And that's why I think hitting on another linebacker out of the portal is going to be the biggest need to go with Sorey. What you were saying earlier, I think Bradley Shaw can play, but I think getting another linebacker to go with Sorey to be your Jaheim Thomas and Pupal with Xavier Sorey and X, whoever that is. I think that's going to be the biggest thing that they've got left. But getting Burnett would be huge because they did lose Rocket. He lost AJ to Tulsa, Rocket to South Carolina. So getting another running back is huge. And I like the high school kid better than what your portal kid would bring because you've got I don't think you need someone that necessarily can start next year. I think you've got, Rashad, you've got the kid from Florida that played at the end of the season. You've got Braylon, you've got Dominic Johnson. You've got some kids that can play running back.
Hmm.
But getting a high school kid, I think that's the way to go, and I think they will. And Burnett and Russell bring the size to Arkansas, the speed, and give you a chance to really build. Got bigger running backs and can really give you a package there.
Yeah, absolutely. Notice. All right, let's move on a little bit. Let's talk, because it is coming up New Year's Day. College football playoff is tomorrow. Do you have any predictions for the college football playoffs and who's going to win the semifinal games?
Yeah, I picked Alabama to win it all. So I'm gonna go with that. Obviously, I'll go with Alabama over Michigan. Texas and Washington to me is a little bit of I like Michael Penix. I really do. See, I like him better than most people too. So I'm kind of pulling for Washington in that, but my gut tells me Texas will probably win it. But I'm going to go out on a limb and go with Michael Penix Jr. in Washington, Evan, even though probably get deep down, I think Texas is going to win that game. But I just like Penix, man. I like that kid. I thought he was as good as anybody in college football. And I know he started at Indiana and then transferred over to Washington. But I do feel like Alabama is going to win it all. They went from probably a lot of people feeling like they didn't deserve to be in to probably going to win the thing, man. I never bet against Saban. I just don't. I mean, it's just, and you're going to win a lot more than you lose not betting against that guy. I just feel like when you give him time to prepare for a team, he's money every time, man. I just think Saban and Alabama will take it all, but I'll go with Alabama and Washington to answer your question, although I feel like Texas will probably beat them.
Yeah, I like that. It's an Indiana fan who went there and got to see Penix for 2 years, a couple times in person. And, of course, the 2020 season, his final year at Indiana. I can't not root for him, even though I think Texas is going to give him a good fight. But that Texas secondary hasn't seen a passing attack like Washington. So I like your picks. I like Washington. And as much as I want to say Michigan, being a Big Ten guy and having my grandfather and my dad both be Michigan fans, I just don't think they can do it, seeing how Ohio State has fared and how Penn State's fared. And, I think, again, it's Saban. I think it's too much. I'll be rooting for Michigan, but I do think it's going to be Alabama, Washington. I like your picks. I really do. Anything else, Otis, before we go to wrap the new year? And my national champion, Alabama. I'll agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I'd never bet against Saban, man. I guess you should win. It's Kirby Smart, but otherwise, don't bet. Just, man, happy New Year to everybody at Pig Trail Nation, Hogville, you guys, Evan, you, Melissa, Courtney, Mike, all of you, Jacob, all of you guys, everybody. I love working with you people. Just happy New Year, and everybody be safe and enjoy yourself, man. But be safe, be smart, and have a great one. And thanks for watching this too. I mean, thanks for watching this. Appreciate everybody watching, and that's about it, man. Just have a good night and go Lakers, I guess.
Otis, it's been a pleasure getting to do these with you for the last 6 months. I'm looking forward to what 2024 is going to bring for everyone. Like you said, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in all year. We'll be back next week with the first Arkansas football recruiting report of 2024.